Janice and I are in the southwest of France, and we're guests at the estate of car collector Trevor Leggett. This is a spectacular place, and I'm really excited to be here. And today is race day at Angoulême. It's kind of a big event, but you'd never know it looking around here. Aside from the cook preparing breakfast, and Joe Breeze, journalist with Classic Car Magazine, Janice and I are the only ones up.
Where is everyone else? They're all in bed.
At 8 o'clock sharp.
This is all for us. I don't know where anybody else is.
Well, we're going to have breakfast at 8. It's now 5 to 9. I did see Trevor half an hour ago wandering about in a towel.
Right, so he's almost ready.
And then we're leaving here at 9 o'clock to go to the Rampart races.
Just need to relax a little more.
Well, I was going to eat an hour ago. Apparently, time is a fluid thing here. It's France. I'm always a little early, even though I'm late. We're in Angoulême attending the race of the Ramparts. This is the 80th anniversary of this event. And yesterday, Trevor took me on a tour of the racecourse.
This would be packed on Sunday.
Yeah. You know, this is the only race in the world that's run inside the ramparts of a medieval town. And of course, Angoulême is a medieval town.
They ran the Grand Prix here right up until the war.
You know, the first race was run on July 2nd, 1939. And there was only 19 competitors. Of course, the Second World War intervened, and it wasn't held again until 1947. The races continued until 1955. But that year, there was a horrendous accident at Le Mans. 82 people were killed. That caused a complete change in racing. At that point, inner-city racing was basically banned, and the only racing that was allowed was circuit racing. 1983 saw the official rebirth of the race at Angoulême, and this was after the FFSA basically allowed inner-city racing to begin again as long as they followed certain rules and regulations.
So now we're on the track.
Oh, okay.
This is the start line from here. So the track is clockwise, comes up around here.
It's all in the city limits. So, I mean, if you run off the track, you hit a large stone building. It's an interesting course, but boy, it's very unforgiving. It's narrow. That's quite the hairpin.
There's another hairpin here.
What was really good was seeing what those drivers were going to be faced with on that track, boy.
So this is more like a hill climb.
W Racing restored vintage race cars. That said, it's a real race. They'll be doing 100-mile-an-hour speeds or better.
So then you come all the way down here. This is like a straight where you can overtake down here.
Right here, your brakes start to fail on you.
They do.
You can get a classic car moving fast, but you ain't gonna get it stop fast. And if you don't make a 90-degree turn, you run into somebody's living room.
These guys can't get in their houses for the whole day.
Anyone who lives in one of these houses or apartments along the circuit has a ringside seat. But there really is a downside.
From Sunday morning AM till 7 o'clock at night, they've got to stay indoors. They're not allowed out of the house.
Oh, that's nice.
I think they're back at the start.
It's quite the track. So when Trevor finally turns up for breakfast, he announces that to get us into race mode, he's got a special car for Janice and I to drive. It's a race-prepared Lotus Elise 211. When Trevor asked me to drive this, I was delighted because, I mean, look at it. It's just, it's a race car on the road.
Beautiful car.
But this morning, he sort of rained on my parade because he comes out with this bloody thing over here. I thought there was no way I'd want to drive any Lotus but that one, and then you drove out with this thing. I'm fairly sure that I would get fairly fond of this one quickly, because this is the ultimate Evora. Hey,
Yeah, they're not going to build any more.
Yeah, I don't think they can take it any further than this.
It's my favourite car to drive, without a doubt, because the suspension has got so much feel in the steering. It's like you've really got your hands on the road. And it's such fun as well. You've got to smile from here to here. I'm damn sure I could beat almost anybody in a road race in this car.
We're about 30 kilometers from the Circuit de Ramparts, and, well, Trevor wants to race on a French open public road and end up in jail in irons.
They're pretty well-matched cars on the road, so we're going to have a race.
Sure. You're in a car you're completely familiar with. I'm in a car sitting on the wrong side using the wrong hands to do everything. What could go wrong?
We could get arrested. We could get arrested.
And I have no windshield. You getting in?
How do I get in?
Yeah. So apparently my legs aren't long enough to do that. So, all right. And I'm faced the wrong way. I think you have to work on the entry to this car. It's like getting into one of the planes. Well, you know, Janice and I both own Lotuses, but everything is reversed in these because they're right-hand drive. Yeah, no, I'm just finding the gears.
Okay.
Button. Sounds like an Elise. Which way are we going? Ah. And we now have a pace car. That thing really moves out, eh? When he booted it just that little bit. But this one is an incredibly exotic car. It's every inch an Elise with a little bit of steroids involved. But it's sort of all the same kit as the Elise of yours, you know, so there's nothing unfamiliar. Placement's a little different.
Right.
Response to throttle is a little bit different. Yeah. Only problem I can see with this car is rain. I hate to point this out to Trevor, but I'm ahead of him. So far, this has been more like a Sunday drive than a race. Bit of a relief, really. I actually would really like to cut loose with this thing. I want to get up into that upper valve line. Yours hits that upper valve line, what, at 7,500 RPM? Yeah, after as well. Well, she's warm now, so she's ready to go. Oh. You can see a passing lane coming up. I'll bet Trevor's going to be stepping on the gas here.
Am I going to overtake him on the corner?
And yep, here he goes. That car is seriously fast. I mean, this one's fast, but that one is seriously fast. That's an amazing Evora. Oh my God, I have a forehead. I never realized. Oh, hey, for all of those who think this is a toupee,
it's not running very good right now. Yeah, the engine's running terrible. Feels like it's gonna die.
these are guys driving valuable classic cars, but when they're out on the track, that escapes them. Oh!
This Maserati Merrick we have here hasn't run in a long time. It's a 1973 Maserati. It has a 3-liter V6 double overhead cam engine with 3 Weber carburetors on it. So it's a pretty wild little engine for sure. We did a little work in the fuel system, changed all the lines, rebuilt the carburetors. So we're gonna fire it up for the first time in many years. Worst case scenario is the thing could spew gasoline out of the carburetors and catch fire and burn to the ground, but we don't want that to happen. So we're gonna grab a fire extinguisher just in case, just for safety, and go for it. Well, it started. That's one good thing, but it doesn't sound too good to me. You can hear it popping and backfiring, but it doesn't sound like it's right, so. So here's the distributor cap, and there's the spark plug wires going to the individual cylinders. So I think what's going on, we got one of these wires going to a wrong cylinder, going to where it shouldn't be. So it's just trying to figure out what cylinder number and what spark plug goes where, so. One thing with this car, there's very little information online. The car's a 1973, so I'm surprised that I can't find the info just right there. Yeah, well, it's got a lot of information on the car itself, like the specs from back in when the car was built, giving me all the capacities, like the size of the engine, specs of the engine, the bore and stroke, but nothing to do with firing order. Well, I found out during my research that it's a V6 90-degree engine. When Maserati built this, they just took their V8 engine and lopped off 2 cylinders. So it's an oddball setup. So to try to find it, it took a while. All right, so I'm finding here that this engine in this Maserati Merak is the same engine used in a Citroën SM. So then I started searching for the Citroën SM firing order. Ah, here we go. And it links me back to a Maserati enthusiast page. And that took me back to a page and had the information that I was looking for. So it's taking me long enough, but this is actually what I'm looking for. The firing order here, 162534. And there we go. I actually found what I need. Jesus, that took long enough.
After a really fun drive in, we've arrived at the circuit to Ramparts for their 80th anniversary race. The races today are run every 30 minutes in a number of categories. There's an amazing amount of classes here, such as pre-1914, 4-cylinder Bugattis, 8-cylinder Bugattis, pre-World War II, pre-1965 GTs and post-65 GTs.
Yeah, this is a pretty dramatic race. I mean, this is a very old race, been going since '39.
And this circuit itself has remained completely unchanged since 1939. It's the only race course in the world that can make that claim.
Well, this course is short, it's tight. Basically, you're coming down something fairly quick, and there's just nothing but a house in front of you. You got to make a 90-degree corner in very little time. There's a couple of places they can pass, but man, on a lot of tracks where they pass here, they wouldn't allow passing. So it's all about grip and steering here.
So the group on the starting grid right now are the GTs after 1965.
You know, these are guys driving very valuable classic cars, but when they're out on the track, that escapes them. Yeah. And the guys with the scrapes and the dings and the bits of broken coachwork, they're in it not for the value of the car, but for the true expression of what they're doing. I mean, last year somebody lost their life here, which is an absolute tragedy in an event like this. But it's racing, and racing is inherently dangerous. You know, huge crowds don't converge for pinochle.
They win. Okay, give it a bump. Oh, okay, good, right there, thank you. So the Maserati Merak, when I had it running earlier, my first impression was that I had a couple of spark plug wires in the wrong cylinders mixed up. 6, 2, 5, 3, 4. Well, it's right, but I checked it, and the firing order was correct. Wow, I thought it was gonna be off for sure. Changes everything. Well, today I learned that Maserati has a 90-degree V6 with a really oddball firing order. Contact! Sounds a lot better when it's revving, other than the smoke. It needs to be run. It's been sitting around for so long. Just blow all the crap out of it and drive it. Well, I'm hoping this test ride goes well, that the engine works perfectly, and give it back to the client. Well, seems to be running okay. Actually, it's not running very good right now. Yeah, the engine's running terrible. It's bucking and it feels like it's gonna die. I gotta go back. The more the engine got warmed up, the worse the car started to run. It started backfiring, it started missing. It felt like the engine was gonna quit running, actually. You know, it seems to be idling not too bad. Yeah, it was okay at the beginning, then it just started all of a sudden, bop, bop, bop. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm afraid it's gonna strand us. I just want to get it back to the shop.
I don't know what these are worth. I know I'd like to have one more than anything else I've got.
This next category, the pre-First World War race cars, is lining up right now. These are Trevor's favorite, so much so that he sponsored the event.
We sponsor this race because we think it's more fun than most of the others, and it's got the most interesting pieces of metal you get to see. And it's not millions of pounds worth, but it's just beautiful. Look at it.
When I see this stuff, it just blows me away. It's like, you know, well, it makes me speechless, and that doesn't happen very often, as you know. You must really enjoy this beautiful thing.
Absolutely. The car is a 1908 Brasier race car. That was a very famous brand around 1904, 1905, winning a lot of races. The engineer was Henri Brasier. He was a real building genius. It's a 4-gear shift. Max speed is about 150, 160, but here we'll not go that fast for safety reasons. But easy peasy, 80, 100, no problem. It's a 10-liter engine, 4 cylinders, revs up to 2,200, so it's quite a strong potential car.
Are you going to win?
Maybe. Let's wait and see. Tonight at the bar, that's for sure.
You know, these pre-First World War cars are just unbelievable. I mean, every time I walk a little further, there's another masterpiece sitting there.
That Mercedes is amazing over
Oh,
there.
yeah,
It's fun.
amazing car. I don't know what these are worth. I know I'd like to have one more than anything else I've got. There's a Peugeot behind it, and it's really awesome.
Now, Peugeot has an amazing racing history, going back to 1895 when they won the world's very first timed car race. Since that time, they've competed in every theater of car racing.
This is very rare, this car. In Europe, maybe 3 or 4. It's 1909, 2.5 liter and 1 cylinder, yeah. We go 4 or 6 times in the year to mountain races with this car. Last year I have a big accident. I have no brakes, not in the front, not in the back, but I cannot stop this car. Then I go to the hill and broke 2 wheels. You must be crazy when you drive this car.
I don't know what to call it problematic, but they were a high-end Italian sports car. There was a lot of fine-tuning to keep them running properly.
So you got no crash protection. There's a fair chance of dying, and they don't give a shit.
Well, that sums the entire sport up, doesn't it?
Well, I figured out it had to be something with the carburation and the spark plugs. That's what it sounded like to me. So I took the carburetors off and dismantled them and found some dirt in the bowls. Well, I must have sucked some dirt out from the bottom of the gas tank, past the fuel filter and into the carburetors. Well, it's a V6 engine. It's got 3 2-barrel Weber carburetors on it, so it's got quite big carbs on the small engine for sure. It's a high-performance, high-revving engine, so you need all those carburetors to keep this thing happy. So I've got the carburetors all cleaned up, installed back on the engine. So I'm just now putting the air intake tubes back on. And the lid back on the air box. Start it up and see how it sounds. Yeah, so these cars, even when they were brand new, were a pretty finicky car to set up and run properly. I don't know what to call it problematic, but they were a high-end Italian sports car. There was a lot of fine-tuning to keep them running properly. So I'm revving it up a little bit to make sure that it's not going to break down and backfire. It sounds pretty good now. I'm pretty sure it's time for the customer to come and pick up his car.
And next, we have a beautiful classic class. It's Type 35 Bugattis, Type 30 Brescias. I mean, it's just a very class of true race cars. Every car down here was a race car before it was driven in any other fashion. That was what Ettore Bugatti was about. You don't see this much in North America. You see some of these Bugattis on the tracks. You don't see masses of them, all competing with one another. And this is going to be an absolutely fascinating race.
So my name is Caroline Blanchard and I am racing on a Bugatti 37A, which means 4 cylinders. I'm very, very lucky to drive this car. It's so different from a modern car. It's very funny to drive.
These guys are going to be every bit as aggressive as we've just seen in the ground pounder.
They're even more aggressive.
Yeah, the other one are competitive, but I am too.
Yeah, these guys are crackers around the twist.
Because the technology is very primitive here, and their tires are this wide.
They've got no safety belts, they've got no crash protection. There's a fair chance of dying if you have a serious incident, and they don't give it.
Well, that sums the entire sport up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, this race has just been incredible. I mean, the cars are so dramatic, they're smelly, they're noisy. I just love them.